My name is Carly. I'm 28. And on the night everything exploded, I was standing in the middle of my company's annual celebration, thinking it was the proudest moment of my life. The music was loud, the lights were warm, and everyone was clinking glasses to toast my success. I'd built this business from nothing, and I wanted to share that victory with the one person I'd always put first, my sister. I had spent weeks choosing her gift, a delicate bracelet engraved with a small phrase that meant everything to me. For the girl I always protected. When I handed it to her in front of everyone, I was still smiling. I honestly thought this moment would heal us. She ripped the wrapping paper open, stared at the bracelet like it was something she'd found on the floor, and her lip curled. "This is filthy," she said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. Then, without even blinking, she turned, walked to the trash can beside the bar, and dropped my gift straight in, like she was taking out the garbage. The room went dead silent. I could feel dozens of eyes burning into my back, waiting for me to cry, to plead, to ask her why. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out, but on the outside, I didn't move. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just stared at that bracelet buried under crumpled napkins and empty cups, and realized that all the years I'd spent sacrificing for her meant absolutely nothing to her. In that exact moment, something inside me snapped into place. I smiled, raised my glass as if nothing had happened, and made 3 decisions. I would pull every investment I'd made in her life. I would take back the Tesla she flaunted like it was hers, and I would say one sentence that she would never forget. Stay until the end, because that sentence and those decisions turned my sister's public humiliation into the most expensive lesson she has ever learned. Stay until the end. Because that one sentence turned my sister's public humiliation into the most expensive lesson of her life. And before we go on, tell me, what city are you in? And what time is it there right now? When the applause awkwardly limped back to life and the DJ turned the volume up to drown out the tension, I walked off the stage like my legs were on autopilot. On the inside, I was shaking so badly I could barely breathe. On the outside, I kept my face calm, smiling at people who were pretending not to have seen what just happened. My phone buzzed in my hand. My best friend was texting, asking if I was okay, but I couldn't even look at the screen. I just needed to get out. I slipped through the side exit of the venue and stepped into the cool night air, and only then did I let myself feel the sting. That bracelet wasn't just jewelry, it was a summary of our whole life. When our parents died, I became the protector, the problem solver, the one who worked 2 jobs in college so my little sister could find herself. I paid off her credit cards, co-signed her first apartment, poured money into every half-baked business idea she had. I believed that if I just gave her enough, one day she'd finally feel safe enough to stop lashing out. That night proved I'd been lying to myself. I leaned against the brick wall, replaying the scene over and over in my mind. The smirk on her face, the way people gasped, the way some of them glanced at me with that mix of pity and curiosity, like they were watching a live-action drama. I thought about the Tesla she drove everywhere as if she'd earned it, the boutique I had quietly funded so she could pretend she was a self-made businesswoman, the rent I paid behind the scenes so she could brag about her luxury lifestyle. She had no idea how many times I'd chosen her bills over my own rest, her dreams over my health. And in front of everyone, she treated my gift like trash. I wiped my eyes, angry at myself for even tearing up. From that moment on, I promised I would never again let her decide my worth. I didn't know exactly how far I'd go yet, but I knew this much. The girl I always protected was about to find out what it felt like when I stepped away. Tell me honestly, if your own sister humiliated you like that in front of everyone you cared about, would you swallow it and move on? Or would that be the day you finally snapped? The next morning, my alarm went off at 6 a.m., but I was already awake, staring at the ceiling. My decision from the night before hadn't disappeared with the hangover haze. If anything, it felt sharper. I opened my laptop, pulled up every document, contract, and transfer that connected me to my sister's life, and for the first time, I looked at it all without the filter of guilt. I saw the loan agreements where I'd never asked her to sign anything because she's family. I saw the business account statements where my money kept her boutique afloat. I saw the car payments in my name for the Tesla she used as a prop in her social media posts. It hit me that I hadn't been a sister. I'd been a walking, breathing safety net. So I called my lawyer and my accountant. My voice didn't even tremble. I want to end every financial tie between me and my sister, I said, cleanly, legally, and fast. By the afternoon, the paperwork was in motion. I had the Tesla transferred back solely into my name and scheduled a pickup. I restructured the boutique funding so that my investment would be pulled out in stages unless she covered it herself. The guilt tried to creep in, whispering that I was being cruel, that I was abandoning her. But another voice, stronger, clearer, answered back. She abandoned you when she dropped that bracelet in the trash. That evening, I drove to her place. The Tesla was parked out front, shining like it was mocking me. I rang the doorbell and waited. When she opened the door, she looked annoyed, like I was an inconvenience. "What? You're still mad about last night?" she scoffed. I didn't waste time arguing. I held out my hand. "Keys," I said. She laughed like it was a joke. "You're not serious." "I am," I replied. "The car is in my name. The payments are in my name. The investments in your boutique are in my name. And after last night, that ends today." She stared at me, eyes wide with shock. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "It was just a bracelet." I stepped closer, keeping my voice low but firm. "No, it wasn't just a bracelet. It was every night I stayed up working so you could sleep. Every bill I paid while you posted selfies in that car. Every time I let you disrespect me because I was scared of losing you. And you literally threw it in the trash." For once, she didn't have a quick comeback. I could see anger and panic warring on her face. I held out my hand again. "Keys. Now." She slapped the keys into my palms so hard they stung. I turned to walk away, but before I reached the door, I paused. This was the moment from the hook, the one sentence that would mark the start of her reality check. I looked back over my shoulder and said, "From today on, you pay for your own mess." Then I left, got into the Tesla, and drove off without looking back. Be honest, if someone you loved kept burning you over and over, would you keep funding their fire, or would you finally let them feel the heat on their own? Pulling the money and taking the car were the easy parts. Living with the aftermath was harder. Over the next few weeks, my phone became a quiet battlefield. First, there were the angry texts from her. "You're heartless. You ruined my plans. You embarrassed me." All the classic lines from someone who wasn't used to hearing the word no. I didn't respond. Then, the messages shifted. Screenshots started coming in from mutual friends. Her boutique's shelves looked emptier. Her carefully curated boss girl image on social media began to crack as people noticed fewer new outfits, fewer expensive dinners, fewer luxury posts. She still tried to fake it, but the illusion was thinning. One afternoon, a video went viral in our small circle, the Tesla being towed away from in front of her shop. Her neighbors stood outside watching as she argued with the tow truck driver, yelling that this was a misunderstanding. But there was my name in the paperwork, clear as day. The comments were merciless. Wasn't that her sister's car anyway? Didn't she brag she bought it with her own money? The reputation she'd built on my sacrifices started to crumble, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a dark, satisfying part of me that thought, "Good. Finally." But satisfaction didn't erase the knot in my chest. At night, I lay awake replaying our childhood. how I used to walk her home from school, shield her from bullies, share my half of everything. I went to therapy for myself, needing someone neutral to untangle the mess in my head. My therapist looked at me one day and said, "You've confused enabling with love for a long time. Love doesn't mean paying for someone else's refusal to grow." Her words lodged in my brain. Around that time, my sister sent me a long, shaky voice note. Her tone was different, less venom, more desperation. She said business was slow, rent was due, suppliers were backing out. "I know I messed up," she whispered. I'm drowning. I don't know what to do without you." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I let a few days pass while I watched from a distance. Her posts got shorter. The flashy friends who used to tag along slowly disappeared from her feed. That's when I realized the revenge wasn't me destroying her. It was simply me stepping back and letting reality catch up. Still, my heart wasn't made of stone. I started drafting a message, deleting and rewriting it 10 times, trying to find the balance between compassion and self-respect. How do you tell someone you still love them but you refuse to save them from themselves anymore? If you were in my place, watching the person who hurt you finally face consequences, would you reach out with a lifeline? Or would you let them sink until they decided to swim on their own? 3 weeks after I took the Tesla, I got tagged in a live stream clip that made my stomach twist. My sister was on camera with an influencer, smiling like her life wasn't falling apart. They were in her boutique, holding up pieces from her collection, talking about relaunching and rising from the ashes. On the surface, it looked inspiring. But then I read the caption, "So grateful for real friends who step in when family turns their back." The comment section went wild. Some people cheered her on. Others asked questions she couldn't dodge. Didn't your sister invest in your boutique? Is it true she took back the car you bragged about? Why are you blaming her when she supported you for years? For the first time, the narrative wasn't completely under her control. Someone even wrote, "Humbling moment when the person you used as a stepping stone decides they're not a doormat." I stared at the screen, torn between anger and grim satisfaction. That night, she finally called, not with rage, but with something that sounded like genuine panic. "Carly, please," she said. "I can't keep up. The influencer wants results. My landlord wants money. My suppliers want invoices paid. I'm behind on everything. I know I was awful that night. I know I don't deserve your help. But can we please talk?" There it was, the crack in her armor I'd been waiting for. We agreed to meet at a small cafe away from people we knew. When I walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. The girl who used to spend hours perfecting her makeup now had dark circles under her eyes and a messy bun that looked more accidental than styled. Her voice trembled when she said my name. "I'm sorry," she blurted out before I even sat down. "Not just for the bracelet, for everything. For treating you like my personal bank, like my backup plan, like you owed me your life." I stared at her, searching for the manipulation I was so used to. But this time, there was no smirk, no eye roll, no dramatic sigh, just raw panic, and something that looked dangerously close to real regret. "Do you know why the bracelet hurt so much?" I asked quietly. Because it was the first time I admitted to myself that I'd been protecting you more than I'd been protecting me. And you threw that truth away in front of everyone. She swallowed hard. "I grew up thinking you were indestructible," she said. "You never cried. You always fixed everything. I thought you didn't need me, that no matter what I did, you'd always forgive me and cover for me. I was jealous that everyone respected you and treated me like the messy little sister. So I doubled down on being the fun one, the dramatic one. That night, I wanted attention. I didn't realize I was burning the only bridge I had left. Hearing her admit that stung in a different way. It wasn't an excuse, but it was finally an explanation. I told her plainly, I'm not coming back into your life the way I was before. I won't pay your bills. I won't be your investor. If I help you at all, it'll be in ways that force you to stand on your own feet. She nodded quickly, almost too quickly. I'll do anything. I've started therapy. I've cut off some toxic friends. I even sold some of my designer stuff to cover last month's rent. She gave a bitter laugh. Turns out handbags don't pay electric bills. I couldn't help but smile at that. We spent the next hour talking like adults, outlining what real accountability would look like: budgets, part-time work outside her boutique, downsizing her lifestyle, being honest about her situation instead of faking it for strangers online. As we left, she hugged me tighter than she had in years. "Thank you," she whispered, "not for the money, for not giving up on me completely." I walked away with a knot in my chest, torn between hope and caution. Tell me, if the person who shattered your trust finally broke down and owned their mistakes in front of you, would you open your heart again? Or would you keep it locked, just in case? Change is loud on social media, but in real life, it's painfully slow and quiet. Over the next couple of months, I watched my sister's life shrink. And for once, it wasn't because I was cushioning the blow. She moved out of her fancy apartment into a much smaller place. She got a part-time job at a local cafe while still trying to keep her boutique alive on reduced inventory. Her posts online changed too. Less filters, fewer designer brands, more candid shots of her actually working, sweating, admitting she was rebuilding from the ground up. Some people unfollowed. Others respected the honesty. Meanwhile, my own life expanded. I took on a leadership role in a new project, spent more time with friends who genuinely supported me, and used the money I'd once poured into her to invest in my own growth. I went on a solo trip for the first time in years and sat on a beach with no notifications from bill collectors or crisis calls dragging me back. It felt strange and almost selfish, not being in constant emergency mode for someone else. But my therapist kept reminding me, you're allowed to feel safe in a life you built. Still, even with the distance, my sister and I weren't strangers. We texted occasionally, short check-ins that slowly became more meaningful. Sometimes she sent me screenshots from her therapy journal, little breakthroughs about her fear of abandonment, her resentment toward our parents for relying on me so much, her guilt for taking advantage of my strength. Other times she admitted she was tempted to post something dramatic for attention and consciously chose not to. One afternoon, she called me crying because she'd been offered a shady, quick cash deal with a sponsor that wanted her to lie about a product. Old me would have said yes in a heartbeat, she said, but I kept thinking, if I'm serious about changing, I can't keep faking everything. So I turned it down. I felt a strange mixture of pride and sadness. This was the version of my sister I'd always hoped existed under the chaos. But I never forgot the bracelet, the trash can, the years of being used. That memory didn't disappear just because she was finally doing the bare minimum of growing up. I had to keep reminding myself. My forgiveness didn't require me to go bankrupt emotionally or financially again. So I supported her in small ways that didn't cost me my sanity. I helped her brainstorm realistic marketing ideas for her boutique that didn't involve lying. I connected her with a financial coach instead of slipping her an envelope of cash. I bought one of her products, not for a discount, but at full price, because I wanted her to understand the difference between charity and genuine support. Slowly, our conversation shifted from crisis control to honest reflection. One night, she said something that stuck with me. "You know what hurts the most?" she asked quietly. "Not that you took back the Tesla, not that you pulled your investments. It's that for the first time, you let me feel what life is like without you catching me, and I realized how much I took you for granted." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "Maybe that's what both of us needed," I replied. You needed to see life without the safety net, and I needed to feel life without the weight of holding you up. So let me ask you, if someone is finally showing consistent change, doing the work slowly and quietly, is that enough for you to rebuild trust? Or would you always be waiting for the old version of them to come back? The real turning point came on a day I didn't expect. My company was hosting another big event, not as flashy as the one from that infamous night, but important enough that investors, partners, and old colleagues were all there. I'd given a short speech about resilience and boundaries without naming names, but everyone who knew me understood there was a story behind my words. As the event was winding down, one of the coordinators came over looking nervous. "Carly," she whispered, "your sister is here. She says she needs to talk to you." She also asked if she could say something publicly. My heart dropped into my stomach. The last time she held a spotlight near me, she used it to humiliate me. I could have said no. I had every right to. But something in me was curious, maybe even ready. I told them to give her 2 minutes at the end, with one condition. No drama, no blaming, no twisting the story. If she broke that, the mic would be cut. She agreed. When she stepped onto the small stage, the room went uncomfortably quiet. She didn't look like the girl who once strutted around with a borrowed Tesla and an attitude. She looked smaller, soberer, more real. She held the mic with shaky hands and took a deep breath. "Some of you know me as Carly's sister," she began. "Some of you only know me from social media. But I need you all to know who I really am, and what I did." She didn't sugarcoat it. She described the night of the bracelet, the words she used, the way she threw it into the trash right in front of everyone. She admitted that she had built her entire image on money that wasn't hers, on sacrifices she never acknowledged, on a sister she treated like a credit card with feelings she refused to see. She talked about losing the car, losing the investments, watching her business almost collapse, and realizing that the real loss wasn't any of those things. It was almost losing me. Then, in front of the same kinds of people who had once watched me freeze in humiliation, she turned to where I was standing and said, "Carly, that bracelet you gave me wasn't filthy. My attitude was. You were the gift I treated like trash. You didn't destroy my life when you walked away. You saved it. I'm sorry. Not just for that night, but for every time I made you feel like you were only valuable when you were saving me." The room was so silent I could hear my own heartbeat. For a moment, I was back in that first party, everyone staring, waiting to see what I would do. Only this time, I wasn't frozen. I walked up to the stage slowly. She handed me the mic, eyes brimming with tears. In her other hand, she held something small and familiar, the bracelet. It was scratched, a little bent, but she'd fished it out of the trash that night after everyone left. She'd kept it. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she whispered. "But I needed you to know I finally see what you were trying to give me." I took the bracelet and held it between us. "Forgiveness doesn't mean going back to the way things were," I said, my voice steady. "It means I'm no longer going to bleed for what you did. I'm proud of the work you're doing. I'm glad you're finally standing on your own feet. But I'm not your safety net anymore. If we move forward, it's as two adults who respect each other, not as one savior and one victim." She nodded, tears spilling over, and for the first time in a long time, the hug we shared felt clean. Not bought, not owed, not manipulated. Just real. Later that night, as I sat alone, I looked at the bracelet resting in my palm and thought about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the revenge, the boundaries, the growth. People think revenge is about destroying the other person, but the most powerful revenge I ever got was simply this: I stopped letting someone use my love as a weapon against me. I reclaimed my life, and somehow, in the wreckage, she found hers too. Now I want to ask you, the one still listening to my story, if you were in my shoes, would you let your sister all the way back into your heart after everything? Or would you keep loving her from a distance, protecting your peace above all else?